Luke Carter lived in a silence that few men could bear. Each morning, the forest greeted him like an old comrade, its wind whispering secrets through the tall pines, its birds chirping in rhythms only someone who had heard the chaos of war could truly appreciate. There was solace here, predictability, life. The world called him a hero. Luke didn't feel like one. Once he was a soldier with lightning in his veins and steel in his spine. But that was before Afghanistan, before the blast, before his legs stopped working and his mind started playing tricks on him, again and again. Now, the mirror showed him a man with lean arms, powerful shoulders, and legs that hung useless like afterthoughts. Paralyzed from the waist down, he lived alone in a hand-built log cabin tucked at the edge of Windrow National Forest, far away from the noise of civilization and even farther from its sympathy. He didn't mind the isolation. His only consistent companion was nature, and he honored it daily. Armed with a rugged, all-terrain wheelchair fitted with thick rubber treads and manual gearshift levers, he ventured out onto the winding forest trails, sometimes before dawn, sometimes just after dusk. He found peace where most feared discomfort. But peace had its limits. That particular afternoon was golden, the kind where the sun filtered gently through the pine needles, bathing everything in a warm, copper light. Luke had been on the trail for almost 2 hours, hands pushing the wheels rhythmically, breathing in the silence like medicine. A doe and her fawn had crossed his path earlier. He'd smiled at the encounter, but the peace shattered when it came. A sound, unnatural, raw, ripped through the forest like a blade. Luke froze. It wasn't a howl, not a growl, not even a yelp. It was a cry. A low, guttural, and utterly broken cry, something between a moan and a whimper. It wasn't just the pain in it that chilled Luke to the bone. It was the loneliness, a kind of desperation that struck too close to home. He stayed still for a moment, heart hammering. Nature had gone quiet. No birds, no rustling leaves, just the whisper of the wind and that awful sound, echoing faintly to the east. His instincts told him to turn back. Instead, he shifted gears and pressed forward. The path quickly deteriorated. Roots jutted like knotted fingers from the ground, and moss-covered rocks waited to trip him up at every turn. His arms strained. The sweat on his brow wasn't just from the effort, it was from anticipation, tension, and an emotion he couldn't quite name. Each cry drew him deeper. Each turn of his wheels brought him closer to whatever had suffered enough to sound like that. 10 more minutes, then 5, then 2, and there it was. At the edge of a small clearing, half shrouded by overgrowth and shadows, stood a sight that froze Luke in place. He blinked, unsure if his mind was playing tricks again. A bear. A massive brown bear, hunched low to the ground, ribs grotesquely visible beneath matted fur. A thick iron chain stretched from its neck to a rusted metal post embedded in the soil. Its paw, clearly injured, was curled beneath it awkwardly. Flies buzzed around open wounds. One eye was swollen shut. Blood, dried and fresh, streaked its side like paint. But it wasn't the bear's condition that broke Luke. It was the sound it made. The same soft, broken whimper. The bear wasn't roaring. It wasn't growling. It was crying. Luke's training told him to back away. A bear, even an injured one, could kill in seconds. But this wasn't a wild, unpredictable predator. This was something else. Something tortured. He edged forward an inch. The bear looked up. Their eyes locked. And in that instant, something inside Luke cracked. It wasn't just pain he saw in the animal's eyes. It was intelligence, recognition, terror, trust, flickering like a dying flame. He took another breath and inched closer. The bear didn't move, didn't growl, just stared. The chain around its neck was cruelly tight. The embedded collar had eaten into its skin, dried blood crusted in layers. Someone had chained this animal here, likely for days, maybe longer. Luke's stomach churned at the thought. He looked around, taking in the scene more clearly now. A patch of blood near the base of the post, a discarded, torn feed sack, and then, just beyond the bear, barely visible in the dirt, a bloody boot print. Fresh. Luke's jaw clenched. Someone did this. Someone came here recently and left this creature to suffer, and they might come back. He looked back at the bear. "Who did this to you, big guy?" he murmured under his breath. The bear didn't answer, of course, but it let out another sound, softer this time, like a sigh. Its body trembled. It was starving, dehydrated, and clearly traumatized. Luke's mind raced. He couldn't cut the chain without tools. He couldn't lift the bear or carry it. He had no cell signal here, and even if he did, who would come? Animal control? The ranger station was over 40 minutes away, and they might choose to euthanize the bear out of caution. No, that wasn't an option. Luke knew pain, knew what it was to be helpless, to lie still and wish someone would see you as more than a lost cause. His fingers gripped his wheels tighter. He looked down at his backpack, half empty. Inside was a small water bottle, a multi-tool, a protein bar, and an emergency flare. No real help, but he couldn't just leave. Not yet. He rolled forward another foot. The bear flinched but didn't lunge, didn't growl. Its one open eye watched him carefully, not like prey, but like a fellow survivor. Luke exhaled slowly. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you," he whispered. He knew the bear wouldn't understand his words. But something about the way its massive head lowered, resting against the earth again, told Luke it understood the intent. He reached for his water bottle, opened it, and slowly, gently tilted a small stream toward the bear's mouth, stopping a few feet short. The bear sniffed the air, weakly licked the dirt. Luke hesitated, and then, slowly, with the bottle in hand, rolled closer. He was maybe 6 feet away now. A single lunge could end him. But the bear didn't lunge. Luke poured another small stream of water into a dip in the soil near the bear's snout. The bear sniffed again, then extended its tongue and lapped it up, slowly, painfully, like every movement took effort. Tears burned Luke's eyes. He didn't know why this hurt so much. Maybe because for the first time in years, he saw a creature in more. "Trapped him fair and square. Got plans for him," the poacher said. "Breeding, fighting, whatever the market pays. You chained him out here to die." The man shrugged as if Luke had commented on the weather. "Had to let him soften up a bit. Makes him easier to handle later." His grip on the shotgun shifted, becoming intentional. "Now, you're going to turn around and roll your righteous ass back the way you came." Luke didn't budge. His mind was racing, but his body remained still, calm, like it used to, back when seconds meant the difference between life and death. He was back there for a moment, in that mountain village in Afghanistan. The sky thundered with gunfire. He'd been hit, shrapnel in the side, legs already dead weight, but still he dragged 2 men to cover while the world burned around them. Now it wasn't bullets. It was a man and a bear. Still life and death, still a fight worth having. "No," Luke said. The word hung in the air, soft but immovable. The poacher frowned. "No, I'm not leaving him," Luke replied. "He's not your property. He's dying." The man stepped closer. "Then he dies." Luke glanced down at the bear, who had lowered himself to the dirt again, trembling. "So you get to decide that, because you've got a gun." "That's exactly why I get to decide," the poacher said, raising the shotgun barrel. Luke raised a hand slowly, not in fear, but like he was reasoning with a child. "You shoot me, and this gets messy. I'm a decorated veteran. My disappearance triggers a full investigation. They'll comb this forest with drones, dogs, and cameras. You really think you'll stay hidden with that tied up here?" The man hesitated. Luke kept going, voice steady. "Let me help him. Walk away and I won't say a word about this. You were never here. I never saw you." The man's eye twitched. He looked from Luke to the bear, then back. "You'll regret this," he hissed, backing away step by slow step. "You think that thing's your friend? Wait till it's strong again." Then he was gone. The forest exhaled as the branches swallowed him whole. But Luke couldn't relax. Not yet. He rolled forward cautiously, the weight of what just happened pressing against his chest like a stone. The bear hadn't moved. Its breath came in slow, wheezing gasps. Luke studied the wounds. The paw was mangled. The belly heaved with shallow, labored effort. The worst part, though, was the collar. The embedded metal had turned the surrounding flesh dark and infected, and pus oozed from underneath it with every breath. "I've got you," Luke whispered. It took him nearly 30 minutes to remove it. Using the pliers on his multi-tool, he slowly, carefully worked the rusted metal away. The chain clinked like old shackles falling to the ground. The collar didn't budge at first. Luke had to wedge his fingers between the bear's matted fur and torn flesh, bracing himself against the weight of its massive head. Twice, he nearly tipped from his wheelchair. Once, the bear jerked instinctively and Luke's fingers slipped, slicing against a rusted edge. Blood ran from his palm, but he didn't stop. Finally, with one last wrench of the pliers, the collar snapped loose and clattered to the ground. The bear didn't move. Luke touched the space where the collar had been, gently, reverently. "You're free," he said, voice hoarse. But freedom was just the beginning of a new problem. The bear's condition was deteriorating fast. Its breaths were slower now, eyes closing, limbs trembling uncontrollably, and Luke was completely alone. He reached for his phone, dead. No signal. He looked around. The trail was too rugged to go back the way he came quickly, and he didn't have hours. Even if he could get back to civilization, it'd be dark by the time help arrived. The bear wouldn't survive the night. Not without care, not out here. Luke looked at his pack, then at the fallen branches around him. His mind went into motion. First, he found 2 thick branches and jammed them through the back of his wheelchair like a cross frame. Using rope from his pack, he secured them tightly and began weaving smaller sticks between them to form a crude drag sled. One he could tie to the back of his chair and pull. It wasn't pretty, but it could work. Every few minutes he glanced at the bear to make sure it was still breathing. Once the sled was finished, he rolled closer and extended his hand, not to touch, but just to let the bear feel his presence. "I know you're hurting," he whispered, "but I need you to trust me." The bear lifted its head, just slightly, and then, slowly, laboriously, it crawled toward him. Luke held his breath. The massive animal didn't lunge, didn't bare teeth. Instead, it settled beside him, and nudged its snout gently against the side of his wheelchair. Luke swallowed the sudden lump in his throat. He hadn't felt that kind of contact since. He closed his eyes. Flash. He's back in uniform. Dust and heat everywhere. His service dog, Tango, a beautiful German shepherd, running ahead through the ruins of a bombed-out checkpoint, nose down, tail wagging. A lifeline. Until the blast. There 1 second, gone the next. He never even got to say goodbye. Luke opened his eyes, staring down at the bear beside him. "You remind me of him," he said softly. "Big, loyal, way too brave for your own good." The bear exhaled, eyes half closed but leaning, just a little, into Luke's side. And something shifted. This wasn't just an animal. This was something else. Something battered but still willing, still capable of hope. Luke wrapped what little rope he had around the bear's midsection. Loose enough to not injure, tight enough to gently guide. Then, hands braced on the wheels, he gritted his teeth and began the long, grueling crawl back toward the main trail. Every route was a mountain, every slope a cliff. But behind him the sled creaked, and the bear stayed with him. They moved inch by inch, side by side, 2 wounded souls against the forest.